Chris Kelsey here with
Matt Howell.
On this episode of The First Run, Matt and I are coming to America, but there's a 2 in there this time, like the numerical 2 in the middle, because it's a sequel to a classic comedy from the 80s featuring Mr. Eddie Murphy. This time, well, we'll get into it. And of course, it's the disaster film Greenland, Matt. That's got a lot of good press when it came out. It's one of the films that was delayed a bunch of times due to COVID. It is currently available, I believe, on HBO Max and, of course, on all your digital platforms and, of course, your physical copies as well. So we'll see what Gerard Butler is doing to protect his family as the world is maybe about to end. And then, Matt, we were originally going to do our 5 favorite disaster movies, but then I remembered I don't really like disaster movies. I think I've only seen a handful of them, so it didn't really make sense to run with that. So in honor of Coming to America, we are going to go ahead and discuss our 5 favorite products that are featured in a film. Of course, we'll also discuss the big picks on physical media featuring your streaming and straight-to-DVD picks of the week. All of that and more. Buckle up, kids, and let's start everything off with Coming to America with a 2.
Is this dude my father? Father, boy! Oh, boy, yeah, he might be. Y'all know I was a hoe, though, right? Y'all know I was out in these streets?
You was the hoe.
I wasn't selling it. I should have been selling it.
I want no Fashion Nova dresses.
Because I was giving it away, for sure.
I've come back for my son and have him take his rightful place on the throne.
Ain't nothing happening. Zamundo, Wakanda, Connecticut, I don't know where you from.
Exactly.
But I've been enforcing this boy's life since he was born.
Please. It's the boy's birthright.
Zamundu, Wakanda, Connecticut. Good old Tracy Morgan. Did you know initially they wanted Morgan to play his son? But I think there's like a 10-year age differential, so they abandoned that.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
Weird. All right, Matt, let me ask you. Coming to America, is it a fun sequel that honors the original or just a superfluous, unneeded retread?
Superfluous, unneeded retread that is not particularly funny. It's broad. It seems dated, which is unfortunate because I don't know if it's just by the fact that once you get a comedian into his 50s, if like he loses all touch of what is funny anymore.
Especially one as successful as Eddie.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I think there's a lot of whatever edge Eddie Murphy had back in the 80s and just how good he was back in the 80s. That's all kind of gone now. It seems very like everybody in this is just going through the motions. And I did see somewhere on Twitter, I think it was Colby Mack described this as Cameo the movie. And that is actually 100%. I agree with that assessment 100%. It's just needless the amount of different people that pop up in this thing. It's ridiculous.
What do you mean? You didn't appreciate seeing Colin Jost and Morgan Freeman and Vogue and Salt and Pepper, Gladys Knight, Dikembe Mutombo? You had that didn't bring you enough joy to Rick Ross, John Legend?
No, it didn't. None of that brought me joy at all. It just kind of made me roll my eyes. Just to kind of show, again, how broad this thing is. Like, they just kind of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And unfortunately, very, very little of it does.
Listen, I think Eddie is still eminently watchable. I think he is still a good screen presence, and I enjoy watching him in films. I think, would we agree that Beverly Hills Cop is his best film? Is that fair?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's fair. I guess I would really have to think of what else is there. 48 Hours, the original of this. Nutty Professor was a big deal back in the day.
That's true. And I think that film's been unfairly maligned. I think it kind of took a turn because it was so popular and so big that people kind of knock it now. But I think that thing still works and is very funny. Though I haven't watched it in a very long time. But I know he got praised for his performance in Dreamgirls. Bowfinger is pretty good. You know, he plays Donkey and Shrek, but I wouldn't put that in there in the pantheon per se. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, Trading Places is fairly popular as well. And that's another thing, too, I wanted to mention. I had never seen the original Coming to America from start to finish.
Oh, really? You haven't?
Yeah. And I was prepping for this. I'm like, wait a minute. Have I ever actually watched that whole thing from start to finish? And I realized I hadn't. I'd seen bits and pieces of it over the years. So I watched that too. And found that to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's more kind of wholesome and more so to speak, and charming and fun. It's a romantic comedy, basically, really is what it is. It's not a crazy, lights out comedy or an action comedy like a Beverly Hills Cop or anything like that. But it's sweet at times. I thought at times it was very funny. And so now we're going back to this well. Has it been 30 years? Man, dear Lord. And listen, too, I talk about Nutty Professor like it's this recent film. It's from 96.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That's almost 20 years old.
Yeah.
Man, dear God, life is horrible. 1988, Coming to America came out. And was a pretty big hit, too. And John Landis directed it, who's a horrible person. No, not as bad as his son. But, okay. So this is probably not as charming as the original film. But I think it does an adequate job of revisiting this older property. I think that it feels kind of like a cozy blanket or whatever your comfy article you want to insert there. And Murphy does, I think, the comedy drama stuff as well as anyone. I mean, and I think he really shines in this thing. And I think he's solid. But I don't want to put off like this is some great performance of his, right? Where he's going to win an Academy Award or something. But it's entertaining enough for me, Matt. It's enjoyable enough. It was kind of great to see a lot of the old characters return and pop up. Wesley Snipes is a lot of fun in this as well. We introduce him and Leslie Jones as well, as you heard in that clip, Tracy Morgan. So, but Eddie and Arsenio are good. It's fun. It's fine. It is superfluous, and I don't think we needed it. But it's like when you go back to your hometown and you see your old friends again. You go out and grab a drink, right? Kind of catch up on the old days where everybody is today, and then you go home and think, oh, that was nice. I don't need to see those people ever again, though. That's basically what this film was for me.
Man, cold-blooded. Chris P. Cold-blooded over here.
That's it. Check it and see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the material really isn't elevated at all from the original film. This is no sequel where we're expanding on the ideas and concepts, right? Because it's not. It's been almost 30 years. This is about coming together and saying, hey, remember that guy? That was fun. That was cool. The movie. Right? You may say it's Cameo, the movie, but that's what I say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what all of these kind of reboot of these properties or these kind of late to the game sequels of these old properties. I mean, like you said, Coming to America, I thought, I mean, I haven't seen it in probably 20 years. I remember liking it quite a bit back in, when I was younger. So I guess I'd have to see how well it holds up now. But I don't know. Like, I think we're just getting a lot of these things where it's kind of like they're dipping into the well, saying, "Hey, that was a middling hit. People will watch that. Let's get some dadtainment out there for the oldies because we're moving quickly." You want to hear something really depressing, Chris? You want to hear a statistic?
No.
All right. So I'm going to tell it to you anyway. So you're speaking of 1988. The Wonder Years came out in 1988, and it depicted life 20 years earlier, so 1968. If that came out today, Wonder Years would take place in 2001.
I would not want to watch that show.
I don't even know what the hell they would talk about, but because it doesn't seem that vastly different, other than the computers in our pockets kind of thing. But still, crazy, right?
That's basically it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Electric cars. Computers in our pockets. You're right. There's really no flying cars yet. No jetpacks.
No. We do have some Bond villains that are running things. And
That's
Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk.
God, everything is horrible. One thing, too, I read while I was doing research for this is that Eddie basically he stepped back from acting because he had so many Razzie nominations in a row for like years. So that sucks, man. I mean...
Right.
Now, granted, a lot of it is, I think what the problem was, people would say is that he didn't have anybody telling him, Eddie, don't do that one. Don't do this one. Everybody, the people fawning over him, a lot of yes men. So, or I shouldn't be sexist. Could be yes people. But, yeah, listen, folks, it's on Amazon Prime right now, as is the original. As I said, if you want to kind of wrap yourself up in some nostalgia, and we can talk about that too, when we get into the product stuff, I got drowned in nostalgia from a bunch of films as I was pulling stuff together for this. And it made me want to revisit so many movies. But either way, Yeah, it's a C plus film, Matt. That's the best I can come up with for Coming to America.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be a little less generous. I'm going to give it a C. I mean, 15 minutes into this thing, I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a long slog as I'm watching this thing. So, yeah, middling by the very definition of middling. So I'm going to give it a C.
Yeah, when they did the Prince get off scene, with the dance number, I was like, I don't think this works. Is this whole film gonna be kind of like this? And for me, thankfully, it wasn't. But still, it's middling at best, as we said. It's currently available on Amazon Prime. I guess watch it. Let us know your thoughts if you do.
Sure.
It's innocuous enough. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. You can hear the excitement in my voice about this, can't you? This discussion.
Yeah, I know. You're really selling it right now. Chris is having a rough day, so it's carrying over into the podcast.
But you know what? It's been about 10, 12 minutes here, just under. I'm going to bring it for the next segments, folks. I'm not going to let you down. We're going to get into some different fun stuff. So let's tell you what's coming up in physical media this upcoming Tuesday, March 16th. Oh.
What a home. It's unbelievable. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice. Susan works really hard.
Yeah, shows.
Eat, before it gets cold.
This looks delicious. Thank you.
Oh.
I made the sauce.
The sauce is... The sauce is really good. Incredible.
Ryan, I hear you're a doctor. Your parents must be very, very proud.
Not really. They wanted me to be a DJ.
He's funny. That's funny. You didn't say he was funny, Cassie.
Dad.
You didn't say it was funny?
No. I said you were boring but rich.
I am boring. Not that rich.
Oh, well, in that case, thanks for stopping by, kid.
Man, they sound like a cute couple. I wonder how they turn out. So, of course, that is a clip from my favorite film, I guess, of last year, Promising Young Woman, getting its physical release. You get a feature commentary with writer-director Emerald Fennell, some interviews, behind-the-scenes stuff as well. So you can go ahead and pick that one up now. Matt, a film we have up in the queue at some point is it Canadian? Monster movie called Psycho Goreman. After unearthing a gem that controls an evil monster looking to destroy the universe, a young girl and her brother use it to make him do their bidding. Includes the director's commentary, interviews with the cast and crew, and more. I think there was a special edition version of this you can get directly from the movie's producers as well. So if that's something you're interested in, you may want to track that down. Shudder is releasing their remake of Castle Freak. Have you ever seen the original, Matt? Castle Freak?
No, I've never even heard of it.
Early 90s? Mm-mm. It's a pretty good straight-to-DVD horror film. Something else coming out, Don't Tell a Soul. Two thieving teenage brothers stealing money to help their sick mom match wits with a troubled security guard stuck at the bottom of a forgotten well. Songbird. In 2022, a pandemic ravages the world and its cities, centering on a handful of people as they navigate the obstacles currently hindering society. Disease, martial law, quarantine, and vigilantes. Include some deleted scenes and making of stuff. Money Plane. Adam Copeland, Kelsey Grammer, and Thomas Jane, along with Denise Richards, Matt, feature in this film about a professional thief with $40 million in debt and his family's life on the line must commit one final heist. Rob a futuristic airborne casino filled with the world's most dangerous criminals. I Am Lisa, which I think is a werewolf movie? A sadistic small-town sheriff and her underlings brutalize a woman and leave her for dead in the woods. I say this because on the cover, there's a wolf behind her, and she's like howling. It looks like a wolf as her eyes and ears change. Feature commentary, writer, producer, director, and actress, deleted scene, and more. Dark Web Cicada 3301. Genius hacker Connor discovers Cicada 3301, an online treasure hunt that could be a recruiting tool for a secret society. Soon, Connor, art expert friend Avi, and secretive librarian... Wait, is that a thing? Secretive Oh, no. She's a librarian who's secretive, not a secret librarian.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Gwen are dashing from graffiti sites to ancient libraries to uncover real-world clues. But they must outrun aggressive NSA agents also hot on the trail of Cicada. but they must outrun aggressive NSA agents also hot on the trail of Cicada, who want the glory for themselves. New to Blu-ray, Synapse is releasing The Dungeon of Andy Milligan. He's been described as the Fassbender of 42nd Street, a celebration of hate, and an unmatched voice from the underbelly of low-budget cinema. More than a quarter century after his death, he remains perhaps the most divisive name in genre history. Severn Films now presents a cranium-cleaving collection devoted to writer, actor, director Andy Milligan, a gay sadist who pioneered New York's avant-garde theater world and made astonishingly unique exploitation films. There are 8 Blu-rays, Matt, featuring 14 different films, all from his New York and London years. 10 hours of trailers, outtakes, interviews, and audio commentary, a bonus CD, and an all-new 128-page book included as well that explores his profane madness. So if you like it yourself, some crazy, kooky, classic exploitation stuff, it sounds like The Dungeons of Andy Milligan is for you. The set includes the ghastly ones with a brand new master of the film struck from a 35mm print, the Body Beneath new 2K restoration of that, 2K restoration of Nightbirds, a never before released director's cut of Torture Dungeon, with a brand new restoration on that, a brand new restoration of the uncensored 16mm camera negative of Bloodthirsty Butchers, a new restoration of The Curse of the Full Moon, as well as The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Here. The Man with Two Heads gets a never before released director's cut, as well as a new restoration. Guru the Mad Monk, brand new restoration of that one. Legacy of Blood, new release stored from the surviving 35mm print. 2 versions included in that, a never before released theatrical cut, as well as a TV cut. Flesh Pot on 42nd Street and Seeds of Sin get restorations. And the Flesh Pot on 42nd Street actually gets a 4K restoration. Oh, both of them do, actually. So there you go. And then Carnage and Blood get new restorations as well. Now, I confess, I'm not that familiar with this cat, so I'll have to look into this stuff, but I'm sure it's something that will likely not be for me. But for everybody else, knock yourselves out. Celine and Julie go boating. A mysteriously linked pair of young women find their daily lives preempted by a strange boudoir melodrama that plays itself out in a hallucinatory parallel reality. Brand new 2K restoration of that one. Audio commentary from 2017 featuring art critic Adrian Martin. A 1994 2-part feature documentary is included as well. The Invisible Man appears, and The Invisible Man vs. the Human Fly from Arrow is being released. Brand new high-definition transfers of both films on one disc, and more is included with that one. Warner Archive is releasing Crossfire, Matt. One of the first Hollywood films to explore bigotry, follows the story of 3 World War II soldiers who become suspects in the murder of a Jewish hotel guest. A brand new 4K restoration on that one. And by the way, we had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Matt, that Warner Archive looked like it was going away, but Warner Archive has refuted that claim. Okay. So we're not sure what that means. Maybe they're going to just change things or relaunch or something, but something's up. And of course, that new Warner Archive sale, I believe, will be starting next week. So this show will be on Friday. I think the archive sale will start early that Monday, or maybe even Saturday, Sunday. Damn Yankee stepped up at the plate for Damn Yankees, the rousing movie of the 1019 performance Broadway Grand Slam, Matt, that imports nearly all the original New York lineup, including Tony Award-winning stars Gwen Verdon, Ray Walston, Tab Hunter, and more. Brand new 4K restoration from the Preservation Separation Masters, and a couple trailers thrown in on that one. The Barbra Streisand, Ryan O'Neal film What's Up, Doc is getting released. Mill Creek is putting out the Huffy BMX bikes movie Rad with a brand new Mondo Steelbook.
Nice.
The last remake of Bo Geist, Marty Feldman's film, is being released with a new audio commentary and new interviews. Taffin, the Pierce Brosnan film, where he plays the tough guy Irish debt collector. It's a brand new 2K restoration of that one. Scorpion is giving us Tower of Evil, also known as Horror on Snape Island or Beyond the Fog, from a previously restored Interpositive. Includes some audio commentary and interviews. Runaway Train, the classic Eric Roberts film, is being released with a brand new 2K restoration of that one. And then your straight-to-DVD pick of the week, Matt. I guess I'll go with... I got 3 here to choose from. We'll go with Dolly Deadly, and I'll pocket the rest of these, Matt. The story of Dolly Deadly revolves around the warped psychology of a tormented young boy who can only relate to his doll collection. Sound familiar, Matt? And the only relief from the pain in his life comes with slaughtering those he learned to hate the most. Everyone in his trailer park. What should we be streaming this week?
I'm going to recommend a piece of low-budget British crime cinema that rode the wave of Quentin Tarantino in the 90s. I'm talking about Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It's available on Amazon Prime. Really about a bunch of inept, low-level criminals or would-be criminals that get wrapped up in the British Mafia. It's got kind of a slapstick sensibility to it, to a bit. Definitely a different type of crime thing than you're used to. But like I said, crime was incredibly hot thanks to Mr. Quentin Tarantino back in the day. So this is one that kind of launched what seemed to be like a promising career in Guy Ritchie.
I actually rewatched that and Snatch when The Gentleman came out.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the last films we actually saw in the theater, too, if I remember correctly.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it was that window, that January, February window, I believe. And yeah, it still holds up. I think it's pretty entertaining. So that's a good one. All right, Matt, let's go ahead and jump into the disaster flick that is Greenland.
That the fragment, it has hit the state of Florida, Central Florida, with the impact's epicenter reported just outside Tampa, stretching to Orlando. And that fragment, which scientists are estimating was the size of a football stadium, has apparently sent a shockwave felt as far as 1,500 miles. I have to warn you, there are no words for what you are about to see. These are disturbing images. They are coming to us from a local news helicopter in Tampa, as well as an overhead weather satellite.
Whoa. What? My turbine!
Oh my God.
Now,
wait, are some more pieces gonna hit?
Bear with us here, we don't have much more information.
Oh, yes, they are. Man, I can tell you, when I'm watching this thing, and about, 15 minutes in,
yeah,
my hometown gets wiped out.
That's right. They knew where to go. What was it called? James? Was that the name of the comment? Somebody had some... Clark, excuse me. So Clark knew that they had to wipe out some of the worst parts of the world, and they didn't hit the Panhandle, which would have been more appropriate, but they did hit Tampa, and it did demolish all the way to Orlando. So what can I say? The universe has got it in for you guys.
I know, man. When this happened, I'm like, come on, man, really? I mean, granted, I know in the end everybody's going, but for us to be the first ones, checked off the map was not cool, man. Not cool.
Hey,
bro.
man, but you didn't suffer though. You didn't live in fear like everybody else for the next 48 hours.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. So Greenland. Well, as you heard, basically, there's a comet that's passing by Earth, and it's breaking up in the orbit, and different pieces are coming down, and then they discover that they were wrong, Matt. They were wrong. And there's one gigantic piece that's about, what is it, 9 miles wide or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
There's basically going to be a planet killer. There's going to be a planet killer. And it's Gerard Butler and his wife and son are lucky enough to have won the lotto of people who are going to be gathered up and put into a bunker to potentially restart civilization. But of course, everything goes wrong on his journey there. Matt, this shit's going to happen, isn't it? I don't think I'm watching this the whole time. It's like, I always wonder what's going to happen, how we're going to go out. When I was working my very first job, I was at Pizza Hut, and there was a gentleman I was working with, and he was telling me about how really at any point a black hole could open up next to the planet and swallow us in, and there's really no reason why, there's nothing stopping it from happening or something like that. And I freaked out about it for 2 days.
I don't know if that's true, because I think you need
aren't they collapsed stars?
Yeah, they're collapsed stars. So you would need a large amount of matter to collapse in on itself to create a black hole. So I think we're good there. Okay. I think if you're going to worry about something there, well, there's obviously the comets and the meteors. but you would see that coming. There is a gamma ray burst, which the kind of this pulse out from stars. If one happened close enough and they hit us, it would basically blow. It would set all of the oxygen on the planet on fire. So the whole thing would just turn into a ball of fire, and we would all die within seconds. So that'd be a pretty good way to go. Or something like a super volcano, where we would die slowly. Whereas like it's gonna happen. There's 7 in the world, like 2 or 3 of them are in the U.S. So yeah, we're screwed eventually. The only hope you can have is that as long as you and everybody that you care about has died before any of that happens, that's about the best you can hope for at this point.
I'm glad we're focusing on bringing the fun in this episode. So, yeah, well, I guess one thing I'll say for Greenland is it lets Gerard Butler go with his native accent. We don't have to worry about that at all.
Right.
And one thing I think that's very successful about this movie, Matt, is that though it's over the top, it's not campy, right? And I think it does a very good job of establishing real stakes, and that's why it works. This isn't a Dante's Peak, Geostorm, Day After Tomorrow film, right? Or just all of those type of films that always seem to fail for me because they focus too much on the spectacle and the effects. And this works because we focused on Butler, Baccarin, and her, the family unit and the horror of their separation when that happens a couple times, right? And it feels very authentic. And I think that's why this thing is as successful as it is. It's thoroughly enjoyable. When the effects hit, when the asteroids or the comet pieces fall, and the devastation hits, it's very well done. And they do an exceptional job of the director, Rick Romanois, of just ratcheting up the tension on this thing. I think it's an exceptionally well done exercise in genre films and possibly one of the best disaster movies I've ever seen. I was on the edge of my seat. I cared what was going to happen. I wanted these people to make it. I wasn't sure if they would. And really well done from start to finish. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this thing kind of hooks you in from the get-go. And I think, what this film does really well, like a lot of those films that you point out, because they have so much involved in the spectacle, it's more of an excitement kind of thing. It's more of an adrenaline thing. Whereas this kind of lets you sit with the kind of oppressive like sense of doom that's permeating everything. And I think that really works. It makes it a fun time to watch on an afternoon. It makes it really good time to watch, but especially in a pandemic where we were kind of at the end of the world, sort of. So yeah, I think it works very well. I think if I had one criticism of it, I think it's a nudge too long. I think it could have done with maybe a little bit of trimming. I don't know exactly where you would trim, but it does seem like it stretches just a little bit. So that's my one slight criticism. But overall, I'm with you. I had a good time watching this. I was absolutely shocked that I liked the Gerard Depardieu movie, as Gerard Butler. I just called him the French guy from freaking forget I said that. Yeah, Gerard Butler. Yeah, I thought that I was surprised that I actually liked it as much as I did. Now, I didn't bother to look this up. Is he Scottish? Is that what that accent is? Because it sounds Scottish to me. I always thought he was like French or something.
No, Butler's not French. I confess, I always kind of thought he was. Yeah. I knew he was UK, but yep, he's from Scotland.
Okay.
Paisley Renfrewshire. I think I nailed that. In Scotland.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there you go. But yeah, no, top shelf Greenland. I'm really impressed by that, outside of course, Tampa getting wiped off the face of the earth. But like we said, I guess it's best to go out fast and not knowing what's going to happen.
That's right. Yeah, you would have been one of the lucky ones. I mean, everybody else would be having to survive pointlessly for 48 hours.
So did you... The only other issue I felt that was a little forced is when they had to go back to the truck to get the kids' meds. Mm-hmm. That was like, as soon as, they do the reveal of the medicine falling out of the bag, little spoilers, I guess, folks. Really, it's not going to ruin your enjoyment of the film.
Right.
It's kind of felt, oh, Christ, here we go.
Right.
But even then, I still think they handled that well. So they were able to, yeah.
I mean, having a kid who's around that age, I could that, him saying, I wanted my blanket, that is something completely that a kid would do that would ultimately get you killed kind of thing. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah, there's really not much more to add. It's just a great little roller coaster ride of a film, folks. If you like these kind of movies, I think you're going to be in for a real treat because this is head and shoulders above, as we said, a lot of that other fare that we've seen in the past. I ended up giving Greenland a B, Matt.
So did I. Although I'm annoyed that I checked on Just Watch where we could stream this, and it wasn't listed on HBO Max, so I actually ended up renting this. I paid real money for this, Chris.
I thought it was. Yeah, no?
Well, it wasn't listed on Just Watch. It could be on HBO Max. I don't know. So
fair enough. It's available out there, folks. You can rent it now. If you've already seen Greenland, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Oh boy, I've been looking forward to this one. Every now and then I come up with an idea that I think is really smart, and this is one of those occasions. I was really excited about this idea. Just different products, Matt, that have shown up in movies that are our favorites. And I'm curious to see if Matt's going to sneak in, because I think this would technically qualify as Terminators or replicants, because they are products.
I actually didn't really think of it that way, so I guess we'll just have to see.
There you go. All right, let's jump into it.
New and improved Joker products with a new secret ingredient. Smiley.
What is this?
Now, let's go over to our blind taste test.
Love that Joker.
Where's it coming from?
I don't know.
Uh-oh. He don't look happy. He's been using Brand X. But with new Joker brand, I get a grin again and again. That luscious tan. Those ruby lips and hair color. So natural. Only your Undertaker knows for sure. I know what you're saying. Where can I get these fine new items? Well, that's the gang. Chances are you bought them already.
Love that Joker.
So remember, put on a happy face.
There was a time, Matt, in my life, I probably could have recited that film from start to finish. I loved it, and I watched it so many times. So
yeah,
of course,
I'm the same.
There you go. That, of course, is Batman. And I love how he really nails and holds on to that X at the end of Smile X. Or no, Brand X is what he's saying. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, of course, Smile X, Matt, did not make the cut for me. It is right outside my top 5. Why don't you... I'll go first. We'll give you the ultimate number 1. Though I think I'd be surprised if we don't have the same number 1.
Really? I don't know. I don't know. I doubt it. But here we go.
All right. Well, here's my number 5.
Looks like me and Vincent caught you boys at breakfast. Sorry about that. What you having?
Hamburgers.
Hamburgers! The cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast. What kind of hamburgers?
Cheeseburgers.
No. Where'd you get them? McDonald's, Wendy's, Jack in the Box, where?
Big Kahuna Burger.
Big Kahuna Burger. That's that Hawaiian burger joint. I hear they got some tasty burgers. I ain't never had one myself. How are they?
They're good.
You mind if I try one of yours? This is yours here, right? This is a tasty burger.
It is a tasty burger, man. And even though Big Kahuna doesn't have a long history in Tarantino's film, it's not like a slusho type thing, right? Where it shows up again and again. That is like an iconic scene in the formation of my appreciation of film. So when I was talking about nostalgia earlier in the show, the Pulp Fiction thing was a big film for me in my burgeoning cinemaphile, youth. I saw that it's one of the first films I saw multiple times in the theater. In fact, I'd waited to see it until it was in the Berlin Twin in Connecticut, which was listen, folks, these used to exist. A second-run movie house that you'd pay $1 and you would see the movie, and it was across the street from the first-run movie house. So it would stop playing there. This was in Berlin, and then after that, it'd have a brief run at the second run theater for $1. And that's where I saw Pulp Fiction, and then I went to see it the next day, and I went to see it again 2 days later. I loved that film as a kid. Still do. But yeah, I mean, Big Kahuna Burger and Sam Jackson's line deliveries in that film, particularly in that scene, are fantastic. So the Big Kahuna Burger will always have a place in my heart. That's my number 5.
It's got a little bit of a personal touch to you two there, because you've neglected the next part of that scene, whereas Sam Jackson's character says, I don't get to eat him. That he says, my girlfriend's a vegetarian, so that pretty much makes me a vegetarian, so I don't get to eat him that much. So I'm like, oh, it seems very familiar with some people on this show.
That's very true.
All right, so my number 5 is the 6000 SUX, or the 6000 Sucks, in RoboCop.
It's back. Big is back, because bigger is better. 6000 SUX, an American tradition.
The massive car that is the epitome of Detroit excess. All of the bad guys drive it. I think in the commercial they say it gets 4 or 5 miles to the gallon, but who cares, because you're rich. So yeah, the 6000 SUX in RoboCop is one of the many fantastic commercials in that film.
No, that is a great one. That is a great one as well. And now, here's another one, Matt, for me. I've got a couple clips in this episode. This is one of the other ones when we're playing the ads. But this one is a product that I knew about without even actually seeing the film. You know, like I said, I may have seen bits and pieces of this movie over the years, but I'd never actually sat down and seen it. But it still stuck with me for years afterwards.
You can be all the things you've always wanted to be. Beautiful, sexy, Jesus, 1, 2, 3.
Just let your soul go. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul, baby, feeling oh so silky smooth. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul go.
Yeah, so Glow. I'd seen that clip basically when I was a kid and thought it was absolutely hilarious in the song, which is horrible and catchy all at the same time. So that's my number 4. Just when it comes to these movie products, So Glow, even without me seeing the whole film, was like this just constant cultural thing in my youth. So that's my 4.
Very good. All right, so my number 4, and you'll notice that all of these are pretty much jokey, or very jokey, is Booty Sweat Energy Drink from Tropic Thunder, where
I forgot about that one.
Where there's one of the characters, he takes he's a commercial. He's the rapper for a commercial. I forget what its name. What's that dude's name?
You talking about Al Pacino?
Al Pacino, yes, Al Pacino.
My number 3, Matt, is going to be the shoes that I think have been made. They've been made, though I think they're crazy expensive. And of course, that's the Nike Air Mags from Back to the Future 2, where you just basically put your feet in them, right? And then they Velcro seal, and there's a little light in them or something. Do you remember the Nike Air Mags? That's what they were called.
Oh,
right?
yeah. They made those. They actually, they did make those very briefly.
So I think they're. How expensive are those things to get now?
Yeah, they're crazy. Sneakerheads are crazy people.
So anyway, I don't know. I always thought they were cool as hell, and I always wanted a pair growing up after seeing it in Back to the Future 2. I didn't want a hoverboard per se because I know I'd fall on my ass and break my head open.
Right.
I have no inherent balance. Like, I basically have to walk around like in a big rubber suit most of the time because I fall over a lot. I can't stand on one leg at all. It's really horrible. So,
I did not know that about you.
Oh yeah, my internal whatever it is compass thing is all screwed up. So there you go. But Nike Air Mags were cool as hell, and I so desperately wanted them. That or maybe the auto drying jacket. I don't know, but
that sounds like a good one.
If I had to choose 3 products from Back to the Future 3, it would be the Nike Air Mags. So they're my 3.
Very good.
Or Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, I was about to correct you. All right, so my number 3 is from RoboCop 2. And you're like, what could possibly be as good as RoboCop 1 versus RoboCop 2. Well, that's the Magnavolt car security system. It's not a car alarm. It just goes straight to executing someone who dares to try and steal your car. So basically, that shows a thief breaking in. These straps come out, electrocute him, and then as soon as that happens, the pitchman comes on. Magnavolt lets out the dead body, and it won't even drain your battery. It just really takes the ridiculousness of RoboCop and really jacks it up to the next level.
Magnavolt's a good one. That's right. Yeah. Magnavolt. I like that little tag though at the end, like you said, doesn't even drain your battery. That was pretty good. All right, good. My number 2 then is not just a side product in the film, Matt. It's the whole point, the whole reason why the film exists. Mm-hmm. All right. And now that I'm saying this, I am kicking myself for forgetting one. Oh, I'm so disappointed in myself. Anyway, I'll finish out my list and then I'll talk about it. The one that I just remembered now because I am an idiot. But that's what happens, folks. My number 2 is The Stuff from The Stuff. If you're not familiar with this film, it is a kind of B-movie classic horror film from the 80s. It stars Michael Moriarty, who you may know from the first 4 seasons of Law & Order. It's Larry Cohen's film basically about this stuff that bubbles up from the ground. And it actually tastes really good. It's low calorie, right? It's not fattening, and you can eat as much of it as you want. And the problem is it kind of eats you from the inside and is alive. It's kind of a riff on The Blob in a way. But if you love 80s B movie horror, this stuff is a great one. It's some great effects. They have this classic scene in this rotating room where the stuff basically like kind of climbs a wall. Anyway, I don't ruin it for you. If you haven't seen it, if you like that kind of stuff, you definitely want to check it out. So The Stuff from The Stuff is my number 2.
All right. My number 2 is the greatest scent of all time, put out by one Brian Fantana, Sex Panther. 60% of the time, it works every time. And it singes the nostrils. As far as in a good way, I can only assume.
That's interesting, Matt. So my number 1 is...
I'll give this little cookie an hour before we're doing the no pants dance. Time to musk up.
Wow. Never ceases to amaze me. What cologne you gonna go with? London Gentleman or... Wait. No. Hold on. Blackbeard's Delight.
No. She gets a special cologne. It's called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries. Yep. It's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, it's a formidable scent. It stings the nostrils. In a good way.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you. That smells like pure gasoline.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, let's go see if we can make this little kitty purr.
Yeah, man, that was my number 1. I really couldn't come up with anything else, really, that would compete.
Okay.
That.
Yeah.
So Sex Panther is my 1. That's another film that made me want to rewatch it, doing the research for this and pulling that clip. Just absolutely how hilarious that film is to this day. So Sex Panther's my 1.
All right. So my number 1, I'm actually surprised it didn't make your list at all, since it is one of it's one of the kind of tent poles of this show. And when when you mentioned this after Soul Glow, this is what immediately came to mind. It's Anaconda malt liquor from Black Dynamite, the malt liquor that makes you go ooh.
How did I forget Anaconda malt liquor?
Oh yeah.
I'm so disappointed in myself. You're right. That is such a great one. Jesus Christ, man. That's not even the one I was as upset that I forgot.
Yeah, well, let's hear a clip.
Leon St. James for Anaconda Malt Liquor.
With a delectable combination of the finest bodies and hops, it's the only malt liquor that carries the seal of excellence from Uncle Sam himself. And when you pop the top, the panties drop.
Is that Anaconda malt liquor? The only malt liquor to be approved by the United States government?
That's right, Anaconda malt liquor.
Anaconda malt liquor gives
Anaconda malt liquor, brewed in Piedmont, Georgia.
Stupid. All right, Matt. Do you have any honorable mentions? Because I
don't.
so.
I don't. I basically got my 5 and moved on.
It's crazy that I didn't even think of that, and I have honorable mentions. So I threw in Romulan Ale just as a fun little Star Trek nod. The flux capacitor is a thing, right? That's a thing.
Yep.
We talked about Smilex. We opened it up with Paper Street Soap from Fight Club, Red Apple cigarettes from Pulp Fiction as well. Most like Tarantino's films. Those have made it all the way through. Nails cigarettes if you're for the View Askew universe associated, as well as movies. And then the masks from Halloween 3, the Silver Shamrock masks.
Oh, yeah. Silver Shamrock, yeah.
That was the one I had forgotten before, forgetting that I didn't realize that I didn't think of.
Well, at least it got on the list somewhere, right?
That's
so
true.
There you go. Yeah.
I would probably jettison Big Kahuna and Soul Glow for Anaconda Malt Liquor and the Halloween 3 masks, if I'm being honest. If I was competent and had any integrity. I would have came up with them in the first place. So what are your favorite movie products? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. I am keen to know. Matt, coming up next week. What is coming up next week? I know next week, the following week is the big one, right?
Godzilla?
Are you ready?
What?
Snyder Cut, baby.
Oh, woo! Super excited for that one. And we got I think one of our marathons starts this month, one that I'm really excited to watch. So I'm excited for that one to kick up as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think next week we're supposed to be Psycho Goreman and 11 Monsters is what's on the docket.
Okay.
But then we'll be doing a Snyder Cut. 4 hours, Matt. Are you excited?
Super excited. Oh, boy.
Good times. All right. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you'll find us. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. It'll help other people find the show, and we'll read it on the air. And that's it, Matt. I'm gonna be honest with you, folks. If I had to grade this episode, I'm giving myself a C+. I'm not
not our strongest. Not our strongest, but you know what? We're gonna come out strong next week, guys.
Absolutely. I'll take the hit on this one. This one's on me.
Our C+ is probably everybody else's B+. So let's be honest here.
That's a fair point. I was listening to another podcast the other day, and again, I'm like, what the hell is going on? These guys.
Yeah, we got the production values, we got the professionalism, we got the dulcet tones. So there you go.
That's true. I got to stop being so hard on myself and work on my balance. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead, take an extended break, and we will see you all soon. Take care.
Al Pacino's Booty Sweat. Popping ass open. Booty Sweat and Busta Nut Bars available at concessions now.